Microsoft just got off the stage at E3. Let's dive into the announcements and the analysis. As promised, Microsoft took the virtual stage at E3 and dropped a ton of announcements for Xbox fans. Everything from new games to new creator economies, and even, yes, the mini fridge is coming. And so we've got a lot to talk about here, and what I'm going to do is roll some B-roll while I'm talking through some of the announcements. And I'm sure that I have missed some because there were a lot packed in, but these were the ones that stood out to me, and we're going to do some deep dive analysis because while Microsoft announced a lot, they announced some interesting things, and quite literally how they approached the announcements was different than any year in the past. So let's just dive into Microsoft's E3 here because it was a big event. First off, Todd Howard actually kicked off the event. He walked out on stage and Microsoft wasted no time, and I mean no time, diving right into one of their most anticipated titles, Starfield, and it is coming in November on the 11th, actually, of next year, I should say. It's 11 and 11, so it's coming 11/11 in 2022, so you can do 11 plus 11 equals 22. Anyways, they very much and very easily and very carefully cleared the air. This is absolutely an Xbox exclusive. So Starfield is going to be landing in the Xbox economy or ecosystem, whatever you want to call it, and it is a very big deal. Things that are launching a little bit sooner here. Microsoft Flight Simulator is going to be landing on the Xbox Series X and S on July 27th. Remember that Ireland date that landed from GameSpot, or not GameSpot, GameStop, if I could do that. GameSpot's a publication. GameStop Ireland said in the 15th it would be launching of this month, and that is not true. It is launching at the end of July on the 27th. Now, really close to my heart, Microsoft is actually launching a Top Gun expansion to this. You will be able to play, I believe, as at least Maverick. I don't think you can play Goose unless there's some sort of canopy ejection simulator. But Top Gun expansion is coming to Flight Simulator, and I am very much on board for this. If you can land on aircraft carriers and throw dog tags off the boat, that will be hilarious and awesome, and so I'm very much looking forward to that. Microsoft also announced a crossover, actually, with Sea of Thieves. Johnny Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean is coming as an expansion called A Pirate's Life, landing on June 22nd. This is a big licensing deal for Sea of Thieves because Johnny Depp and Pirates of the Caribbean is huge, and bringing that character into the fold is going to do good things for that title. Now, Sea of Thieves has been a really big sleeper title for Microsoft. A lot of people don't give it enough credit for how long it has been sticking around and how well it has honestly done for Microsoft. It's a title that continues to perform well on Game Pass and on PC, and so they're adding more content to that. We also did get Battlefield gameplay, so if you've been looking forward to that, you can go watch it, but it is not coming to Game Pass on day one, or at all, actually. They didn't announce it at all, so that is not all that surprising. Battlefield is a huge title and is going to bring in a lot of dollars, or dollar dues for EA, if you will. And so the fact that it's not launching on Game Pass isn't all that unsurprising. Far Cry 6 is coming October 7th. Slime Rancher 2 shows up in 2022. Shredder Snowboarding, actually, I'm vaguely interested in this. I played a ton of 1080, I want to call it 1080p snowboarding, 1080 snowboarding on the Nintendo 64, and I also played a lot of Amped. That was an early title on the Xbox franchise for snowboarding, and so this looks very kind of similar look and feel, and hopefully it plays the same way, because that will be another fun title to play with. Age of Empires 4 is showing up on October 4th, and Forza Horizon 5, game people were also very heavily looking forward to, is landing on November 9th, and then Microsoft closed it with, and one more thing, but it was really, and two more things, because they announced a brand new IP called Redfall, which is you can play it as a single player, but it looks like it probably plays slightly better as a 4-player shooter, that is coming in 2022, so not all that far away. It's sort of a zombie-like environment, that allows you to play. Zombie may not be the perfect description, but sort of like that dark kind of a connotation, if you will. So Redfall looks pretty good, coming later, or I should say in 2022. So there were just a sandwich, an Italian meatball sub, or Italian, I don't know, sandwich. There's a lot of meat is what I'm trying to get at here that came through E3. But there was a lot of things that were sort of just different, and things that are worth diving into here for a second. First off, the biggest one, and I'm a little concerned for his health, world premiere and exclusive guy did not make a single presence at this event. I wonder if Microsoft is moving away from that. Remember, every time they would show off a new title, they'd be like, world premiere, or console exclusive, or whatever, you know the voice that I'm talking about, was not a part of this event. So I'm curious if Microsoft is moving past that. They're really pushing that Game Pass portion of this, and actually they talked about how 27 of the 30 titles announced at E3 are coming to Game Pass, and not all just coming to Game Pass, but Game Pass on day one. So if you are paying into that subscription model, the value of it just increased significantly. And I genuinely mean this, that I think there's going to be a lot of people who just sign up for Game Pass and never buy a game, just never do, because Microsoft has a plan, and they talked about how every month through the end of the year there's going to be new titles coming to Game Pass, is that they're just going to keep ramming them down into Game Pass. And so while titles will exist outside of Game Pass, much like Battlefield, and some people might buy that, there's a very strong argument to be made that you just don't need to buy games anymore. You just sign up for Game Pass and jump in and out as you want them. Starfield was obvious. I think we all kind of knew that it was going to be exclusive. Microsoft's not paying $7.5 billion for Bethesda to just give away all their IP, but it was good for them to come out and say, this is what's happening, this is how it is moving forward, and this is the direction that we're taking. It just really elevates, again, their reasoning for buying it, and also just makes it that much more lucrative to buy an Xbox console. Also, more importantly, Tom Cruise is not in the game. And he's also not, I don't think he's in the Top Gun theme either for our flight sim, but I think we can play as Maverick and Top Gun. Anyways, Tom Cruise getting 2 mentions in a video from Brad. Highly unlikely, not on my bingo card for 2021, but here we are talking about Tom Cruise twice in the same thing. Okay, Forza Horizon 5 is a much bigger deal. Yes, it was visually impressive. Microsoft said that ray tracing is coming too, and it's a big deal. I'm not trying to undersell all that, but I think the bigger deal here is that they're launching a new Horizon Events Lab. Now, this is a place where creators can go in and basically build like environments, and we didn't get a ton of information, but it looks like you can it reminds me of like Halo Forged, where you can go in and create your own maps and your own scenarios and your own gameplay and your own rules. And this is key. Microsoft talked about this a lot through the past couple months and through their media and analyst day that they did. They want to enable these creator economies. Microsoft has this extensively in the Minecraft world, and they've been breaking this out. We're also starting to see this a little bit more in Sea of Thieves, and now they're definitely bringing it to Forza Horizon 5. I almost stumbled over there, my own words. But what this is going to do is give it more longevity through creator-led engagements, which is a really big deal, because that makes these titles have a longer shelf life than just saying when Horizon puts out new content. Now creators will be able to put out content through this Events Lab, and again, help add new challenges and new dynamics to a game that may not have been possible when only the developer was creating these things. Now, creating these types of tools like Events Lab and the Halo Forged arenas, those are really complex tools, because one, you got to think like outside the box, quite literally, about scenarios that are going to be engaged. You got to worry about like frame rates and everything else. So it's a big deal that Microsoft is bringing this to the next generation Forza Horizon, and I look forward to seeing how they elevate that and bring that economy to life, because that is a very big initiative for Microsoft, creating these titles inside of games like Horizon and making them really, really sticky. So the other big thing that was announced and sort of talked about at this event that wasn't talked about, which we're going to just roll some B-roll here, is Halo Infinite. Now, we kind of knew that they were going to talk about Halo Infinite. They had to, right? After last year's things going on. And so what we got was I don't want to call it a deep dive into multiplayer, but a pretty good look at multiplayer and the graphic setup and the arrangement for Halo Infinite. And so this was our first, I believe our first video of the game since last July. And there's a lot to take away here. I mean, you can really dive into the different components of multiplayer and how it's going to play out and the differences from what's available today. Obviously, the grappling hook, but we already knew that. But look at the graphics, look at the gameplay. We also know it's going to be free to play. We also know that it's going to support up to 120 frames per second, depending on the hardware that you are playing on. And so Microsoft is making a pretty big deal about this, as they should. The one thing we didn't get with Infinite, which might be concerning to some, is we didn't get a launch date. They're still saying holiday 2021, but they didn't. I think many of us, myself included, were thinking like they're going to announce November, pick your date, November 15th, pulling that out of the air as the date that they're going to launch this. But they didn't actually give us a date. I hope we're not overreading into that too much, as we tend to do when we don't get information that we would expect. But yeah. Also, things that weren't talked about at E3 but were tweeted out after, there's going to be a Halo Infinite technical previews coming later this summer. So that is a good sign for people. I'm assuming this is some sort of like Halo Insider program, and I actually think they kind of call it that, like a Halo Insider program. But this will be the betas or maybe even the early alphas that we see. But again, as we know, like what we see in those technical previews will be pretty close to what we see when the game launches. Yes, the bugs will be fixed, but we're not going to see graphical overhauls. But I will tell you from watching the multiplayer, at least in this canned video, it does look better than what we had seen last summer. Obviously, we haven't seen everything yet. You can see the skulls there coming back, it looks like, and some spray spray paint art, kind of like what we see in Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, the Battle Royale title. Actually, a lot of games use spray paint. Anyways, we didn't get that launch date, but it does look a lot more visually impressive, and this has serious Halo 2 vibes for me. I don't know about anybody else, but I remember that sword pretty vividly from many of those shredding days back in Halo 2. Some of my best Halo memories are from them. So no launch date, but there we go. Just a ton of information. So we got, at least they're still saying it's coming this year. I look forward to those technical previews. I really look forward to some campaign play, because that's where we saw the graphics really underselling it last time. And so Microsoft knows, obviously 343 knows, and everybody else knows that they have to wow, and they have to make it a good visual experience. So, whew. That is like the very high level wrap up of the event. But at the end, and this is why I said it wasn't really just one more thing, it was two more things. Our friend of the show, friend, just nice person on Twitter in general, confirmed that the Xbox mini fridge is coming in the second half of this year. They actually put out a trailer where it looked like they were launching new hardware, and then they showed up with the Xbox mini fridge. Of all the review units I have on the 2021 horizon for the second half of the year, that is the one I'm looking forward most to, because I can put my adult beverages next to my console. That way I can grab the controller, grab my headset, grab a brewski or something of that nature, and they all look, visually pleasing, because they all have the same color scheme and all that stuff. So anyways, Xbox mini fridge, Microsoft continuing to have fun with that, and I very much look forward to that device launching here sometime later this year along with Halo. And so, breaking it down, when I did a video yesterday that you should go back and watch, because it really dived into the media and analyst event. I said, look at how Microsoft is going to position all this, and everything was about Game Pass except for 3 titles. Microsoft is trying to show that there is significant value in Game Pass. They didn't talk too much about consoles. They didn't talk too much about peripherals. They didn't talk about much anything else other than just a ton of games, 27 of the 30 which are coming to Game Pass to, again, try to entice people to sign up. That is Microsoft's long future. I'm actually honestly surprised they didn't talk some about cloud gaming, but I think Microsoft realized that, hey, this event is supposed to be about games. We're not going to talk about our technology stack. We're going to talk about how people can play more games at a better value. And that's the takeaway from this year's E3, which has been different than any other E3. I mean, we've seen some E3s and they're okay, but this one, I honestly think Microsoft felt surprisingly confident about what was going on. I'm also surprisingly confident that my daughter just dropped something right above my head. Anyways, Microsoft felt really confident at this event. Like, they came out hitting hard, and they came out with a good, solid lineup, and I think they knew that. They especially knew it in the way that they're presenting it, and I think Microsoft did a pretty good job. So, as we kind of dig into more about what is going on with E3, keep it subscribed here, because the only BS on this channel is me.